As soon as I see YouTube says we're live. Okay, we're live. So about 30 seconds and I'll bring everybody on except for you, Clint. And bring us in. And now, this is when we're supposed to come on, you know. Hey, it would not be a webcast if I did not make some kind of like production glitch, right? It's the joy of hosting and producing. Or producing, I use that word loosely, simultaneously. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the June 2023 edition of the Windows Insider Webcast. For all of you that are out there joining us live, thank you for making the time. We appreciate it as always. We have another exciting, I guess, episode. I don't know what to call these, right? Just a broadcast to bring you some more cool information. If you happen to be on Twitter earlier, finally announced what the topic is going to be. We're going to be talking about PowerToys and some other cool stuff. Special guest Clint Rekas is going to be here joining us. But if you're looking at the folks who are sitting on screen, you might notice a little bit of change. This month, Brandon, who is normally here with us, Brandon LeBlanc, he is out tending to some personal business, doing some travel. So he has been gloriously replaced by another member of the WIP team that I don't know if, well, number one, it's your first webcast. I know that much.
It is.
I don't know how much of a social presence you necessarily have, so I don't know if people have kind of met you online before. But Anne-Marie, take a moment and introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anne-Marie. I work with Jason on the Windows Insider program. Specifically, I focus on data currency and our ongoing release cycle and management of that. And it's an honor to be here and try and stand up to Brandon's excellent presence here.
We're glad to have you. Hopefully you have a fun first webcast experience. This won't be your last one, I don't believe. So, we'll have you on to do some talking and do some topics and things along the way. So it'll be good times. And then, of course, Jen. Jen, I turn the mic over to you like I do every time. I think people know who you are at this point, but hey, just in case.
I would hope the only gentleman at Microsoft. I'm Jen. I am one of the people who helps investigate the plethora of feedback that comes in for Windows. You also probably see me around social media as Jen MSFT on Twitter, Reddit, Mastodon, Discord, and newly Blue Sky. So I get around the socials. Also, this is Dusty.
I was going to say the amount of social presence that you have. I can't keep up with it, so I don't even try. I just don't.
I don't sleep. Yeah, it really helps with. I don't know if the social media makes that better or worse, but.
Yeah. Heading into this month's webcast, before I jump over and bring Clint on, I do want to share something real quick. And so I'm in the process of copying a link, and I'm actually going to share it here in chat. So for folks out there who are familiar with the traditional conferences that Microsoft does, generally in May of each year, we have the Build Conference. And I just dropped a link in the actual YouTube chat. So if you're watching this after the fact, you'll be able to grab that link that's here in chat. At the Build Conference, we announced all kinds of fun stuff. There were keynotes from Satya and other leaders around the company. We talked about some of the work that is currently going out the door, work that is planned to go out the door, and then some, we'll just call them teasers into future road mappings and things like that. But one of the things that was announced was some really cool work that Clint and company are currently working on. And with that, allow me to bring Clint online. And poof, there he is. What's up, Clint? How's it going?
It's going good. It's going good. Yeah. We announced a bunch of really cool stuff at Build, and I'll be showing off some of it. Dev Home, uh, Dev Drive also came on board, which helps really, really drastically improve your developer performance for namely I/O bound tasks. So I was very, very pleased when it came online. I could alpha test it for the first time, and I'm a very hard person to please, and I was shocked at how just performant it was.
Excellent. Well, hopefully the folks out there, I know the Windows Insider audience. I know how technically enthusiastic our users are. So I'm going to be fascinated because I'm going to learn a lot through the presentation today. I will admit, it's probably I love calling myself out. I have not used all of this functionality yet. So for anybody else out there who hasn't gone and explored this space, or if you missed some of the news along the way, there's lots of really good information that we're going to share. So hopefully you'll pick up a tip or two along the way, and maybe find a feature or two that can be of use or of interest to you as you engage in work, home, play, whatever the case may be with however you use Windows along the way. Without further ado, I think we should get it kicked off. So Clint, I will turn the mic over to you. If you are ready to screen share or whatnot, let me know. And
I am.
Let me get this up and running. I will see.
You tell me when I should click the share screen button.
Go right on ahead. I get to make one extra click over here to broadcast it.
Okay. There we go.
Yeah, wait for it to come through.
So everyone on the meeting, this is welcome to Microsoft meetings where we're like, can you see it yet?
Not yet. So one thing, I will say this has been the fun thing. There it goes. Okay, now I'm transitioning now. And now folks should be able to see it.
Great. So for everyone on the call, I run PowerToys, and I also run a team called Developer Shell. So we help lead developer experiences on Windows. So if you don't like something on Windows currently and you're a developer, email me or tweet me, and I will happily listen to some feedback and see what things are actually currently happening. And based on that feedback, we have PowerToys and DevHome. So each solves a different nuance. So DevHome was what we announced at Build, and along with DevDrive. So I'm going to demo that. So I use FancyZones really quick just to kind of snap it here, but I'll make it a little bit bigger. And right now, this is very early days for DevHome. And so we operate under a minimal lovable product, which means when we think we can get really positive feedback on what things that are needed, but it solves problems, we release it. So Dev Home does two things right now really well. It helps you install your software, get your system up and going faster. So we basically can make it go from hours and hours to a couple clicks. So the ongoing joke is, hey, if you get a new PC or have to reformat, you can then set up your workflow, click install, go get your coffee, and by the time you come back, it should be ready. Pending big download installers. So here, this is my dashboard. Here's the things that I tend to do. So I like to monitor my CPU, my memory. Then we have two GitHub widgets here. One is the, hey, am I mentioned for PowerToys? And then the other one is anything assigned to me? So yeah, one thing we can do here is let's go add in a new widget here. So I'm going to say, give me an issue. And here you can say URL. So you could just put in the URL and it will just give you all the issues. However, the other really kind of cool thing you can do, so I'm going to drag my issue tab here. And here you can see on it, PowerToys, I have issues opened, has the label need triage, and I don't want the label bug. So I'm just going to grab this URL here. I'm going to paste it in. It's going to grab everything. I'm going to pin it. And this should, in famous last words, of course it didn't in demo failure, it should have gotten me all the issues here. So I'm going to be a smart person and file a bug against my team. But what it should have done was grab the labels and create a custom variation here.
This is how you know this is a real life, real time demo.
Yes.
That's how it works. That's how it works.
Yeah. So what it should have done was leverage the labels as well. So then you can create custom labels and, custom queries to make your dashboard your thing. So not just like give me all the issues for the entire repository. Other things we're adding in is ADO support shortly, and it's a fully extensible model. So if anyone else wants to help build an extension for it, we're happily partner with you. But right now we are our team is focused on GitHub and ADO, but we'll help anyone else that would wish to do this as well. So the other thing that I was talking about earlier was machine configuration. So we have this thing called a configuration file. And I'm going to go peek the file really quick. So I hit Control Space with PowerToys, and you can see I instantly peeked into the YAML file here. What this file lets us do is complex work setups, and it gets it into what's called a desired state. So underneath the hood, we're using PowerShell DSC, desired state configuration. And here you can read it and says, hey, for PowerToys, we need to do a couple steps. And the first step here is we need to enable developer mode. We need that because one of our utilities is an actual UWP application. The next one is we need to install the Visual Studio. Here we say just grab community. And then the next one is we need to leverage the VS component files, the VS config, and that will from the PowerToys cloned repository, and that will give us all the needed dependencies for this. So our file for PowerToys here is directly designed. So when you clone it, you run it that file from DevHome with this, and it will grab the VS config file from the PowerToys main repository and just load everything you need. So the goal for the winget configuration file system and for PowerToys is get you up and going as fast as humanly possible. So we want to make it literally keep it simple. And my screen is so tiny, Jennifer. I'm sorry, I can't help it. That's why I have super duper glasses.
I have really bad eyesight. I'm sorry.
So
it's okay.
So the goal here is
you can use magnifier, which is the Windows key plus, and it will zoom anything in.
What I can also do is I can leverage a bigger resolution also, if that would help anyone. If someone is monitoring chat and would like me to do that, I will happily do that. But this will then go in and leverage the VS config file through the VS installer to install all our needed dependencies. That VS config file is also leveraged by the solution file in PowerToys. So even if you were to not use this, we would still try our best to get you on the golden path to success for being able to what I call F5 ready PowerToys. Won't 100% get you there because you won't be able to do the dev mode by default, but that's kind of what this is designed to do, is get you as close as humanly possible there. We're still working on things like being able to have a DSC for getting the submodules and all that stuff. But like I said, the goal here is to get you up and going as fast as humanly possible. With this, we actually did find a bug because on my desktop at home, we tried to run this, get it working, and then there was a change in where one of the dependencies we had wasn't in the VS config. We just actually pushed a hotfix, or I'm sure to say hotfix. We just did a pull request on it to our VS config for an additional item in the VS config file because I was like, why can't I compile on my desktop? And that was so it was quite nice, and this helped actually find that bug. So we peeked in a YAML file here. So if you wanted to, you could literally go click the config file from DevHome. I'm going to go to my desktop. You can see, hey, big scary warning. Don't do. You know what you're doing. You click agree, continue, and you click set up as admin because most things run under admin. If you don't want to run it as admin, you can't. Or I'm sorry, you could click that and it will kick off. Because we're doing this live, I'm not going to do that because it will probably slam my PC and make Jason cry right now or sneeze.
I'm over here. I didn't say this at the beginning of the webcast, but I have a bit of a summer cold or something, and I'm over here coughing a whole bunch, which is why I'm staying on mute and not talking much. I know it's a little out of character for me, so please bear with me. That's why I'm hanging out over here. And Clint can still see me on camera, even though you can't externally. And I'm over here like I'm practically crying from coughing so much.
Okay, so that's one option you can do for using DevHome. The other one is we have an end-to-end setup flow. So here you can clone your repositories. So if I wanted to click, I can type in http://github.com/Microsoft/PowerToys, and then click add. And you see right there, there's my repository. I can click next, and then it's going to go grab a bunch of potential files. And if I wanted to search for something such as, let's say, GitHub, we'll pull up GitHub desktop. Here it's querying winget. Come on, winget. This is also, once again, how you know that it's a real demo.
It wouldn't be fun if it wasn't.
I like to think that these things exist to teach us patience.
No, there we go. Let's not kid ourselves. I'm the lead, as everyone knows on this call, my patience level tends to be fairly light, if you will. So
I mean, and this isn't what you're here to talk about, but like your work has helped get a bunch of perf stuff improved in Windows, so I'm all here for it.
So here you can see the GitHub desktops. If I wanted that, I could just click it and click next, and then it'll say, here's all the things I'm going to do. I'm going to go clone PowerToys there, and I'm going to go grab it. And if I were to click the checkbox and click setup, it would kick off the entire flow. I would get my wonderful coffee, and it would be full done by the time I come back. So that's DevHome.
So, at the risk of asking a silly question, but
there is no silly question.
Oh yeah, there is this one, right? No doubt, DevHome came about because of feedback and a desire to simplify some of the experience in this arena. What did it actually take to get this to come to life? Because it wasn't just, hey, snap, we're gonna do this in a week and here we go. What all did it take to actually bring this to life? Because there's a lot of work that went into this.
Yeah. So DevHome is basically one of the things that actually got me to like really excited about the team that we're working on, because Kayla Cinnamon was one of the, I will say, OG creators of the DevHome concept, and it's gone through constant iteration. So one of the things our team does is we listen, we ask for feedback. We're continually going like, hey, what don't you like? What do you like? Oh, you're in love with Linux? Great, tell me about it. Let's go nerd out. I'm personally not the most savvy on Linux, but we have a lot of savvy people that are. So I will help bring them in and go like, or have them run the interviews and be like, tell us about it. Help me understand. And like, none of our team is an expert in everything, as everyone else in the world is not an expert in everything. So both that gives us the naivety to ask some great questions and be like, hey, can you just walk me through this? And like, how do you run this through? And we look and see patterns and start investigating, seeing like, is there something we can do better? Is there something that we can literally grab and through data prove that this is a problem? So one of the things we do is we look through Feedback Hub data. One of the things we do is we look at PowerToys data. So literally some of these shouldn't surprise anyone. Like, hey, PowerToys, please make delete faster. What do we announce at build? We're helping make these critical things that impact developers faster. So we're literally going in and we're looking at this and going like, could PowerToys create a little incubation project to improve something? And if the answer is no, because it's so deep down in the OS, we go, okay, hey, friends in the file system, let's go figure out how we can make this faster. And then we leverage all the data that we currently have to show this is a real world problem. And for like deleting, it's not just developers. Developers are just the group that tends to put the biggest stress, in my opinion, on it. So like if you run npm, you're getting tons of little itty bitty tiny files. But it's not even that. Like PowerToys, when you fully compile PowerToys on a computer with all the the debugging information, it is not a small bit on your hard drive. We're talking about 40 gigs. So when I have multiple branches and multiple forks and I'm comparing things, it's like, hey, I want to delete that. I want that to delete really fast. So it impacts me just like it impacts the community. So the more, I will say, everyday user, it could have a folder with a ton of pictures, and that's a fairly large thing as well. So we're trying to use both the developer scenarios, but also try to bring it back to the normal user as well.
Is this the moment where we do the feedback pitch that we do in every single meeting?
So I strongly think that Windows feedback is a great tool for many things, and we use it at PowerToys. We use it all the time. We're like, hey, where's the feedback hub? And that data helps us literally solve and make the case to solve a lot of these problems. So I'm not sure if I did a better or worse job than you, Jen and Jason and Anne Marie, but
yeah, I mean, I guess I'd say we're constantly looking at our emerging issues or the backlog of feature requests, and almost every single discussion about what to work on next, like people ask, like, what feedback did we get? What do people want to see next? We weigh that with all the priorities that we have. On the performance subject specifically, we did have a webcast about that some months ago. And so like if you are having performance issues, it's really important to file feedback that includes a performance trace, because there are so many different things that can be involved with that. And although not about normal performance, but if you're having game perf stuff, it's aka.ms/gameperf feedback, and it'll walk you through how to file feedback about that that's actionable for the teams to look into. That's it.
Yes, feedback is king, and queen.
Yep. I just dropped those links in chat, so folks can see it in the replay as well. Okay, Clint. Well, I will turn the mic back over to you. Sorry, I was just curious as kind of like some of what inspired this, the work that went behind it. And obviously, one of the big.
Yeah, so there's a lot more also. So it's like, so we had to break down, like, there's so many things you could do here. So it was, what are the most impactful, and then what can we do in a short term, a long term planning. So like for us, the two biggest pain points that we continually heard was setup is hard, and we want like information at my fingertips. So some of that is like, hey, I want a multiple kind of dashboard system. And one of the things our team directly did was we started looking at like, well, because going back to feedback was, I want widgets on my desktop. So Ayla and myself both literally looked at our desktops and were like, Ayla, do you have any of your desktops showing? And she's like, I was about ready to ask you the same question. So we started going through and asking every person on our floor in the office this question. And we said, we literally knocked on the door. And this was our kind of litmus gut check. We're like, okay, hands off the keyboard. And that was literally our opening salvo, talking to people. And we're like, can we look at your desktop really quick? And the goal was to make sure that we could see a real world scenario of their desktop. And every person on our entire floor that was in the office at that point had either maximized screens, or every square inch of it was filled. I think there was one person, and the only reason why they did it was because they just flighted. So it was a brand new reboot. That's
why you press the Windows key plus D to clear your thoughts and then start opening everything again.
So our team chose to not then actively go for desktop widgets. We opted for a dashboard app, kind of like namely DevHome, so that we could create a bunch of targeted widgets that help developers, such as GitHub, ADO, system monitoring. We have an SSH wallet. We have more ideas coming as well, to all about harness the ability to quickly get where you need to go and get a situational awareness. So one of the few notifications that are that the app does right now is makes you aware when your CI system, your continual integration system, fails. So this is mission critical for if you have a long build pipeline and you do something quirky. Let's say for PowerToys, we have a spell check in it. So if your spell check fails, you can't check in. You can't, that pull request can't get merged in. So you want to know that. Or let's say you have a dependency issue, or, there's a bunch of different scenarios where it could fail and not, you might not catch it on a check-in, the pull request. And by seeing that little warning, rather than either continually breaking your thought process back and forth, checking out the web browser to be sure that the CI fully completed, you're notified within, I think it's 5 minutes, saying, hey, your CI failed. You might want to go fix your pull request. So it's all about getting you back, removing that break in your head, or the extra burden in your head for keeping track of stuff, and not wasting 2 hours waiting for for PowerToys CI to fully complete, to only realize it failed in the first couple minutes. And then you have to kick off another build and twiddle your thumbs and go back. For the scenario for like me, that comes super handy is like when I'm right now, one of the things I'm trying to do is I'm trying to unify our pipeline, our CI pipeline and our release pipeline. And shocker to no one that has ever had to deal with YAML, it is the littlest things cause the biggest headaches. So it's continuously breaking. So is it step 47 that's going to break, or is it step 2 that's going to break? So just being notified that, hey, your CI failed, go check it out, is super, super helpful for most scenarios. Other things we're looking at are oh man, I'm blanking on it now. Anyways, so there's a bunch of great issues on our GitHub. Also, it's github.com/Microsoft/DevHome. DevHome is fully open source. It's fully extensible as well. So by default, we want as many cool things built in as humanly possible. So check it out. Back to PowerToys, however.
Yeah.
So PowerToys is the other thing that we're kind of that my team is kind of working on, and it's all about making you more productive and kind of incubating, testing stuff out. So it's designed to get us data to see like, should we do something larger past it. So PowerToys, in the current generation, I think is about 3, maybe 4 years old at this point. So it's a toddler phase. It's maybe soon quickly approaching the preschool phase, if you will. Sorry, I have little kids. Horrible jokes. So right now, I think grand total we're at about 15 different utilities. And I'm just going to quickly go through a small list of features, as you can see, small. And install it, check it all out. Some of them may work great for you. Some of them you're like, I don't know why I need them. The one that I always use is Color Picker. So going back from creating a thing that would typically, I think it is 7 steps down to 1 step, is now I can quickly hit the default keystroke here is Win-Shift-C, as you can see right there. If you want to change it, you can change it also. You can see it comes up and it tells me exact color codes of whatever is underneath my cursor. Now you're like, well, pardon?
If you saw me laugh, the reason I was laughing is because I felt you'd be so proud of me, because last week I filed a bug on one of the changes we made in the dev channel, and I brought up the color picker and I took a screenshot and I was like, this is the wrong color. I was like, yeah, and then the dev replied, he was like, what's this cool tool? And I was like, oh my god, I'm about to blow your mind.
Let me tell you about something.
Please.
So
I'm here.
yeah. So when we were in a PM meeting, like showing off, like, hey, here's kind of like a demo day thing, and I was like, hey, everybody, let me show you this cool thing. We're not totally sure what the name is, but right now we're calling it Color Picker. Like, it might be called Eyedropper or something. Who knows? And I demoed it, and literally someone's like, Clint, where were you an hour ago? Now, and the reason why is, what you would have to do before is you'd have to take a screenshot of your desktop, start up Microsoft Paint or whatever your choice is, paste it in, grab the eyedropper, drop it, get that color, double click the color, and the color will be in 3 separate fields. So in 0 to 255, and then you're going to have to hex code that if you want to go translate it into like something a bit more web friendly. That's a pain in your butt. Welcome to Color Picker. And if you want to, you can go in and even add in new formats. So we get this big, insane, crazy thing, and you can do whatever you want. So it's not perfect, but we got a lot of different options for you. The only nuances that I do want to call out here is if you have color profiling on your monitor, it will literally grab the exact color code that it sees on the screen. So if you have color filter on, it will grab the color filter. It is not designed to remove the color, the profiles and all that stuff. It just literally grabs the pixel under the cursor and you're good to go. That's my favorite because it saved me a lot of time. The next cool utility is PowerToys Peek. This is something we announced at Build. And the cool thing is like, if I want to open up this C++ file or this SVG, this Markdown, or this, JPEG, typically you double click it, you launch a bunch of apps, and you're like, I just wanted to see what this file was. I don't remember, like if I open up this SVG, it would boot up Edge. Now, if I hit Control Space, and in typical fashion, it's called red, but yet it's green. And that was actually very intentional for this because of testing. Or I can go boot up the Markdown file and I get full Markdown. Or C++. And this is fully colored. You can copy stuff. This is the same visual editor as Visual Studio Code. It's running Monaco. So your code will render exactly like Visual Studio Code. So we're doing our best to try to make everything just work exactly how you'd expect. And then here is my garage. So it opens up photos, of course.
What I'm hearing is that people shouldn't be using Notepad to quickly preview code file. They should use Peek.
Do what works best for you. That's my opinion. So if you like using Notepad, keep on using Notepad. If you like Notepad++, use Notepad++. Use what's best for your flow. But Peek's goal is to get you where you need to go quicker and faster and allow you to quickly edit files. It's not perfect, but we're getting there. Going back to minimal, lovable.
In the chat, I asked people what PowerToys utility they use the most, and there were a bunch of shout outs for Text Extractor, which I think is the one I use the most as well.
Yeah, Text Extractor was a community plugin by Joe Finney. So he has a tool, and he reached out and he's like, hey, I think this would be pretty cool as a power tool or a power toy. Would you like this for me to do a pull request? We're like, absolutely. It's a really cool utility. His more fully fleshed out version is called Text Grab. You can see it down here. We give attribution. His Text Grab is much more robust. PowerToys is a operating back under the minimal lovable product. I do want to call out that Text Extractor, the goal is good enough. It is not. OCR will never be perfect. You can never trust OCR. So I do want to call that out. But for those who haven't done it, so what I can do here is I'm going to go grab this text here. So this is grabbing text from the screen. Then I'm going to go boot up Notepad. Oops. Oh. And then you can see that it said Text Extractor is a great, convenient, blah, 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 and grab the text straight out of it. Now, like ones and I's and stuff like that will actually get a little funky. Always review OCR text. That's just the biggest thing I can always remind people. Up next, that's super fun, is paste as plain text. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to stop screen sharing so I can open up an instance of Microsoft Word really quick. So Jason's going to hate me doing this because there might be some stuff I don't want to show really quick. So give me a second here. Because I didn't know which monitor it was going to launch in. It was a very smart choice of mine to do this like I did.
It's okay. I transitioned it so it wasn't showing your screen.
Oh, good.
Although Teams is doing some really interesting stuff with our video streams right now.
Okay.
Whenever you are ready.
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, going back to your screen.
Okay. So let's go grab all this text here. So I'm just going to grab a bunch of text. I'm going to hit Control-C. So now I have a bunch of text that actually has a bunch of different fonts. I paste it in and see all this stuff. And it's really kind of less than ideal. So if I use the default shortcut here, which is basically every imaginable thing under the sun, you can see it then just pasted it as plain text. So it removed all the formatting in the entirety. Yay! So what you would normally have to do here, going back to reducing 15 steps to 1, is you'd have to, here in this scenario, you'd probably boot up Notepad and paste it into Notepad and then hit Control-A and then Control-C and then go back in and paste it in.
For what it's worth, Word is working on adding paste as plain text with the Control-Shift-V keyboard shortcut, which is the same one that works in Chromium and Electron apps. But
as you can see,
not all apps. Yeah.
But not all apps do it, and our hope was to get this kind of helping everyone everywhere as well. Mm-hmm. So if you didn't want to change it, so it could be Control-Shift-V. We enable that, so we don't override that intentionally because it could potentially break other apps. So here, if I just did that, hey, oops. Yes, you can see I just pasted a bunch. So yay. I'm going to go reset this for demo reasons. Back to where it was. Another super duper fun one, in my opinion, I'm going to go close out Microsoft Word, is always on top. Now you're like, why do I care about having a window always on top? Well, you're on a conference call and you need your notes. So you want your notes always on top, and you can talk to Jennifer here on the call. So for that, it is Control-Win-T. I screwed that up.
I thought it was Win Control T.
Control-Win-T. Why is that not firing? I'm just gonna cycle it.
This is truly the demo god. This works great for me, by the way.
Yeah.
I do it because you can do like any sort of video. Like if you're the kind of person who just likes having something on in the background, or like it works with the sticky notes app. So you can have like a sticky notes window with like some random notes of things that you want to discuss in a meeting. And you can like move the sticky note to be sort of eye level so that when you're looking at the notes, it looks like you're looking at the person.
Yeah. Why is that not working? I think we hit a bug in PowerToys, so I'm going to actually do the typical cool fun thing and fully power cycle PowerToys. So PowerToys is an incubation tool, so occasionally it does get a little quirky. There we go. So you can see there, now it's always on top. I go behind. I think something got a little funky with pastes plain text, so I have yet another bug out of file.
That's really why you came here today, was to give yourself more work.
And to teach people how to file issues for PowerToys.
I would say if you do have hit bugs, the more information you can provide, the better. So we can actually actively debug stuff. So there, the bug would probably have, I would have said I was doing stuff with pastes plain text, and then shortcuts started to fail. And I knew it wasn't just always on top because I tried to actually launch Color Picker, and Color Picker wasn't working. So I'm betting there was some kind of bug in our global keyboard hook. So things happen. You know, it's a complex piece of software. Stuff occasionally gets a little quirky. So always on top is one of my favorites. Next is I would go with FancyZones. So if people have never used FancyZones, I would say kind of one of the utilities for PowerToys.
It was one of the first, right? One of the first three.
It was, yep, it was one of the first, along with Shortcut Guide. And the entire point of it is to let you have more complex snapping regions. Most of the people, the current built-in snapping engine works fantastic. Some of the FancyZone stuff helped inspire the Windows 11 current rejuve. But what you can do is you can start seeing I have this more complex layout. So if I just click there, I start realigning stuff. And I can even do a bit more complex. So if I hold Shift and Control down at the same time, I can grab multiple zones and it will just snap accordingly.
That really is fancy.
Mm-hmm. This is also what happens when you allow random people to name your utilities. They get a little fun at times. So that's FancyZones, always on top. Color Picker. A fun one is that a community member introduced is called Mouse Jump. Now, what Mouse Jump is that when you have a bunch of crazy monitors, and the key shortcut is Win-Shift-D. This is off by default, I will warn you. So if you hit it, you'll see this little thing, and you can go, boop, and your mouse will go wherever that is. So here, I'm going to go quickly show you. So right now, I'm in the bottom left of my monitor, and now I'm going to go up to samples. So you can see now there's my mouse. So I'm going to go move it back down to the bottom left. I'm in the bottom left now.
Wow.
So if you have a triple, monitor, it makes your life super easy because you can go start jumping around and all that stuff. And go exactly where you need to go.
You can also use this to find your cursor.
Well, the mouse spotlight is a different feature.
Yeah, it's a different feature. Find My Mouse is a different feature than Jump. But Jump could also help you find your mouse cursor because you'll get the little prompt exactly where you need it. So what I did do there is that was called Find My Mouse. And Find My Mouse is you double click and you can find it. This was actually written by Raymond Chen, one of the original authors of PowerToys from 1995. and he was like, "Hey, I got this cool thing, Clint. You interested?" I was like, "Yes, please," because it was actually something we're actively looking into. Because if you have a super high res monitor, you lose your cursor shockingly more than I want to admit. Another really kind of cool one that we introduced a while ago is called Screen Ruler. So if you're a developer, you want to know how far are these gaps kind of, and it's not perfect because it's doing edge detection, but it's a good enough thing as you can hit Win Shift M. This is the default shortcut. You get this little thing up on top. So let's go figure out the gap here. You can see that's a 4 pixel gap. That's a 59. I will say 59 feels odd because this should probably be probably
Literally.
16. Pardon? Nice pun. Nice pun.
You're welcome.
Wow.
I'm a great dad. Yeah,
wow.
I'm a great dad.
So this would be a scenario where I'd probably actually do like a Photoshop, go in, get the exact distance there. But I think it could also be 59 because of the it's actually the behavior, so it's not perfect to the lock to the grid. But like where I know the gap between these two should probably be 4, because it's the Fluent design system typically is powers of 4. So if you wanted to do also a double, you can do that. So you can get the inside region of stuff. Super, super useful, super powerful. And you can go in and tweak things like per channel and then adjust the tolerances, drawing feet, and stuff like that. And last, this is literally one of the original and most requested PowerToys is mouse without borders.
Yeah.
This is super duper hard to demo because you need multiple computers. You can look at Kayla and Sherla's talk at Build where they're making fun of me, and I have both my laptop and my desktop, and I'm moving my mouse from computer to computer. But if you are in a multi-computer environment where you have multiple monitors, this is super, super powerful to be able to just basically move stuff around, have one single keyboard, one single mouse, and go to and from both systems. So yeah, super, super cool. We went and got the original source code, upgraded it to .NET 7, .NET Framework. So it's a close parody copy, but not precise, because the jump from .NET 7 Framework to .NET 7 did introduce a couple things. Yeah, so that's just a bunch of quick rundown. Of course, you have your always fun utilities like PowerToys Run. So if you want to go start like Visual Studio, you can do that. That's one of my favorite utilities. I have it literally just typically grabbing only my programs. A bunch of people have a bunch of the other plugins installed. A lot of these are designed to fit your scenarios and your use cases. So your shortcuts might be slightly different than my shortcuts, and that's okay.
So let me ask you a question real quick. If somebody's brand new to PowerToys, this is the first they're hearing of it. Mm-hmm. What do they need to do to light it up? How do they get it? How do they start exploring?
So I would say the best thing to do is check out the welcome on PowerToys. So I'm going to go open this up, because this gives you kind of like the too long didn't read for everything PowerToys. So how to use it, what it does. Here's a bunch of the explorers. You can go read some of the documentation. There's also a lot of really good community-driven tutorials on a bunch of these things. So like you can see how other people use it and how it could work into your flow. If you don't want to use a certain utility, turn it off. That's okay. You don't have to have everything on at the same time. Some of the utilities we have on default, so they're running in memory, so they instantly load. One of them is like Color Picker. So if you don't want to use Color Picker and you want to save that extra 20 meg of memory, turn it off. That's okay. But go check out Quick Accent. Quick Accent is another.
You didn't mention Quick Accent.
So, for those who haven't used Quick Accent is a way to help quickly get certain accent marks injected into your app. So the other way you can do is when period to get some of these. Quick Accent is a slightly different metaphor. We're trying to figure out if we can do like things like press and hold also, but it's not perfect. So we're still trying to investigate different ways we can do this. But if you use
it also has the M dash. The number of viral tweets I have seen where people are like, I don't want to memorize Alt 015, is it 0 or 1 for the M dash? And it doesn't
Jennifer,
even...
I expect you to know this off the top of your head.
I just one of them's N and one of them's M, and I can't remember which is which. Because I don't want to remember an alt code. Also, they only work with number pads, and like my laptop doesn't have a number pad, so it's so much nicer.
Yeah, I will say Quick Accent is one of those where it's great if you really, really use it and need it. I would strongly suggest turning it off if you don't need it. It is off by default because it could be a little disruptive. So one thing you could do is if you left click on PowerToys in the lower left, you can see here we have quick launchers also, and you can quickly turn stuff on and off also here in the lower left. So that's one of our ways that we are, taking feedback, listening. People are like, hey, I want a quick way to go turn stuff off. Great, left click and go turn off always on top. I'm going to turn it back on. So the other two things we did also add in recently are registered preview. So if you have a reg file, I forgot to grab a demo reg file to show off, and then a host file editor. So if you're doing things like testing out a network switch or load balancing, you could pop that on and start testing stuff out and testing out your host file. So if you have any feedback, go to github.com/Microsoft/PowerToys, and we always love listening to feedback. Just remember, there's a lot of you and only a couple of us, just like DevHome. So we are actively listening. It's just lots and lots and lots of info and feedback.
And while you are saying that, I am throwing a couple links in chat. The github.com/Microsoft/PowerToys is in there, and then I also went ahead and linked for chat the page to Microsoft Learn that is the introduction for PowerToys. So if you want to dig in more there, it has the links to go and do all the installs and all that kind of fun stuff. So that is also in the chat for folks to go and reference as well.
The other thing I do want to call out is PowerToys and DevHome. They're community-driven projects. They're open source. They're open source by default, and I cannot stress PowerToys and DevHome would not be where they are without feedback and just community contributions. Just the amount of fantastic pull requests that we got for out of the gate for DevHome was fantastic. I was shocked at how many quick people like, hey, you could do this a little bit better. Hey, what about this? And that's why I love open source in the community. Like the amount of just fantastic work and collaboration that happens, it's hands down the best part of my day. Second part is hanging out with you all.
Who paid you to say that?
Anne-Marie.
She's sitting over there quietly scheming. She's doing everything via Teams. This is why she's been quiet.
Right.
It's like, hey. I will say this. Clint, we're almost out of time here. There's the questions that have kind of come up in chat. Jen, I will say thank you for kind of tackling those along the way. I know you've thrown them in along the way here and there. There's some folks that are in the chat, and I won't scroll up to go through and grab folks name by name, but there are a few folks who have made comments about having contributed to these projects along the way. So, for those of you, just a quick shout out. Thank you for your efforts. Thank you for being part of the community. I will.
I cannot stress enough how much we love community. Like PowerToys says it point blank, this is by community for community. Like I think over half our contributions are community driven, if not more. So yeah, like part of me was sad when we had to lock down the code base to get Mouse Without Borders in, because then we started we started getting so many pull requests because we were trying to we technically we did it in open source, but it was like we tried to not spoil the surprise of Mouse Without Borders. So there was some shenanigans that had to happen, and then we're like, hold on, we need to temporarily pseudo lock our main code base. So we could bring it in at the last second to help surprise. So we got quite a few backlogs of pull requests, but now we're starting to chug through all those goodness also.
Excellent. Clint, I can't thank you enough. Between the tips, the information, the demos. I mean, I know got bit by the demo bug a couple of times, but hey, it's
it happens, and that's part of the I'm gonna go file some bugs and make some snarky comments, and it's gonna be fun.
Don't feel too bad. I have a few notes that I had to make as well, because as kind of a side note, I had mentioned a couple webcasts back that we were going to be doing some, the equivalent of like heart surgery on the Beam machine, where it was time for a new motherboard, a new CPU, some RAM, decided to jump in and do a new hard drive as well. And so porting some of the content from the old drive to the new drive and some of the scene information and videos and the things we do to drive the webcast, there was a couple files that seemed to have not placed themselves correctly, or somehow they got eaten where they were in place originally. So I've got a little bit of homework to go back and do. I saw a couple folks in chat talking about screen resolution and things like that, and there was a couple of issues with some of the audio video syncing. So I've got a little homework myself, so I will get these things taken care of. But all in all, it seems to have gone generally okay. I'll take it. For the first one in the new setup.
Yeah, I thought it went fantastic. And like I said, if anyone has any questions, concerns, they can email me, tweet me. I'm on Blue Sky, Mastodon, kind of on Reddit a little bit. I'm more of the there's an issue, and I'll just type in and solve it. Type person more on Reddit. But yeah, love to listen to feedback, love talking to people. We do coffee chats on my team, so if you do want to go chat with us, happy to set that up. Pretty sure everyone on my team right now is in a coffee chat with someone from the community, so can't wait to talk to everyone.
Awesome. Well, on behalf of the Windows Insider community to your community, which hopefully that Venn diagram overlaps, right? Hopefully
I'm hoping it is one community.
Yeah, seriously.
It's a circle.
Except Brandon, who's not here.
I'm gonna start singing "Circle of Life" from Lion King, but nobody wants to hear me sing. I'll play it later in our group chat.
We can put a video, a viral video.
Next webcast.
It's the circle of life. Okay, I'm done. All right. I will go back as always and make sure that if there were any questions that we missed in chat, I will pull those out and I will do my best to address those on Twitter or on the answers forum. Clinton, if I need to, I'll sync back with you. But again, I will just say thank you once again. I know you have time commitments, so I will let you get running out the door because I know you got to get down the hall.
I just got to go one floor down and figure out where this conference room is.
The joys of office life. That's just kind of how it goes. So with that, I will cut you loose. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
I appreciate
Have a good one. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Jen, Anne-Marie, thank you both as always. Anne-Marie, I hope you had fun today.
I did. I learned a lot. Thank you so much.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Are you going to go and install PowerToys?
I am. The link's up and ready.
Yes, indeedy. I don't have PowerToys installed on the Beam machine. I might put it on there just so I can goof around a little bit. But I try to keep this one pretty straightforward and not too much nonsense on it because of, this is like, it is purpose built. So, on my work machine, I'll go through and engage in some more shenanigans. But to all the insiders out there, we are going to wrap up here. I will say thank you once again for tuning in and joining us. Hopefully you learned a thing or two along the way. If you're tuning in after the fact, thank you for making the time to watch this, to watch the replay. If you have any questions about the Insider program, you can catch us on Twitter at Windows Insider. You can also catch us on the Answers Forum, which is answers.microsoft.com. There is the Windows Insider subforum there. Jen, I know she spends a lot of time out on Reddit and the Windows Insider program subreddit that's there, probably in the Windows 11 one as well. I know you're kind of all over the place. Outside of that, any questions, any of that kind of fun stuff, just hit us up and let us know. And of course, we did the feedback
We
rant.
always do.
I don't want to call it a rant because it's not really a rant, but the feedback reminders, we did all that earlier. So keep submitting feedback, keep checking out the builds, and we will see you next time around. Thank you again for tuning in.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.